Hi, Kinsey. How you doing? Okay, you've got upper and lowercase. That's really fantastic. You're ahead of the game. Good job. I think that the basic structure here is good. I think it's solid. You've got some really good things going on here. I think right now at this point, my recommendation is just to clean up your letter forms. We see a lot of inconsistencies. Okay, so for example, right here, we can see that's kind of a little hiccup right there. We can see the same thing right here. And there's a few things that I think that we can really combine here to really add some visual harmony. For example, the A could possibly double as an O without that little serif right there. There's other areas I think that could be duplicated. So really take a look at here for consistency. Just take a look exactly at what's going on. Another example would be that wouldn't the N be just the first part of the M? Or wouldn't the M be the N with another segment right here? There's a lot of areas I think here that theoretically that J could be a duplication of the I with the descender removed. You see what I'm saying? But it's constructed completely differently. So I would really go through the letter forms and really determine what can be used over again and use those parts. So in other words, you're designing these letter forms based on what's already designed, and you're developing new letter forms based on the anatomical parts of letter forms that are already created. You see what I'm saying? So I think that we can improve the overall consistency of the typeface by doing exactly that. Another example here would be the C, okay, the C and the E. The C and the E are basically the same letter form, but with the C, we just take that and right there and take that bar and just bring it across over here to the right side of the bowl. Do you see what I'm saying? And that would really create some harmony and some consistency in the presentation of those two letter forms. So again, my recommendation here is to really go through all of these and determine which parts can be used over and do so. Okay, right now I think we're lacking a little bit of consistency. The next recommendation I have is this, and I'm going to use this as a straight edge. Okay, so I want to bring this over here. I'm just going to bring this to the baseline of the Q and the R and even the S seems to be off a little bit. Let me just bring those down to the baseline of the Q and the R, and we can see that a lot of your other letter forms are residing above that baseline. So you really want to guide this out. You really want to create guides to make sure. Right now, it seems like your O is much smaller than your N. Conversely, it seems like the Q is, now again, here's another example. The Q and the O could be identical with the exception of that crossbar for the Q, right? But we can see that they're totally different. So again, that just alludes back to my first set of comments. So right now, definitely want to draw a guide on your baseline, your mean line, your cap lines, and your ascender lines. And really make sure that all of your letter forms are consistent size. Okay, so here's the baseline. Then what you would do is come up here. Now, I'm going to take the bottom of this page, which is going to be kind of tough, but I think I can take the bottom of this page and use it as a straight edge. Just watch this right here as we bring this over, and I bring it right to the cap height of those letter forms, K, L, M, and N, and then we can clearly see O, P, Q, R, S are much, much smaller. Okay, so there's some inconsistencies there as well. I think your baselines are okay here. Your cap lines aren't bad at all. Again, baselines here, and not everything is sitting on the baseline, so we're not ensuring that each letter form is a uniform size. And then the first, let's come up to the mean line height there. Let's pull that to the mean line of the G. Okay, and we can see everything that's overhanging here. Those letters are larger than a G, so it's a little inconsistency there. Okay, so you're ahead of the game in that you have your lowercase letters designed, but we really got to get this out to some solid consistency. And again, go through these and determine which areas can be used over to create different parts of additional letter forms to increase the amount of consistency. One tip would be to use the L as the vertical stem, and then use that L for all of your vertical stems. So, for example, you use that L for the vertical stem for the B, vertical stem for the D. A lot of this will change, and I think a lot of this tends to be a little inconsistent. A lot of the way that your descenders and ascenders are kind of going in different directions. Here's a good example here. Here's a good example here, where this kind of is an angle, but this is on a curve, whereas the L is perfectly straight, M, N. Okay, so I guess the point I'm trying to make is just to definitely do that. Just go through and determine what can be used again. And then let's get those set up on baselines, mean lines, get your baselines, mean line, cap lines, and ascender lines set up. And also, you may even want to draw a guide for your descenders to make sure that they are uniform and consistent as well. If we do that straight edge trick, we can see right down here the descenders for the P and the Q end at the same point. But the X, or actually the Y, that is a proper descender, that is too small. You see what I'm saying? So there's definitely some consistency that can be enhanced in the presentation, and that is where I would work towards at this point. All right, great job. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. I would be glad to clarify. Thanks, Kinsey.